Ian, we are live. Welcome, my internet friends. Hope you guys are great. Trey Ratcliff here. I'm here with my assistant, Tane. Tane, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
He's true Kiwi. It's the middle of summer down here in New Zealand. We're excited about photography. I decided to bring back the variety show just for fun. Also, I'm missing my friends, hanging out with some of my old photographer friends and make some new photographer friends, and gives us an opportunity to share our work and talk about geeky gear or just kind of be organic about the creative process. You know, one of my goals with this and everything I do is try to help inspire other creative people to be more creative, right? Just kind of find that creative self. So we're going to be a little all over the map today. We'll do some gear talk. I'm going to talk about my new Sony A7r Mark III that I really like, and some sweet new lenses. And I may even be liking this better than my Hasselblad X1D. I may be switching to the Sony. Being tempted. I don't know what's going to happen. By the way, this show is not brought to you by any sponsors. Okay, none of that stuff is going on. Everyone sends me free cameras. I'm very grateful for. Although I will, before I introduce our guest, I will tell you that it is being brought to you by Magic Bomb, Oddfellows Dispensary. So this is actually Tane's mom that makes this stuff. Woo! Okay. Awesome. And the way she makes it is every day she takes off the top layer of Tane's young skin, and she melts it into a bubbly balm. So he's basically like the fountain of youth over here. And so if any of you want to experience some of Tane's ooze, be sure to come to the Queenstown Market on Saturdays, where he'll be selling it himself.
There you go. That's an amazing plug.
Thank you.
The lotion on its skin.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing for the next hour of the show. Just rubbing my skin.
All right, let's roll through from left to right, starting with you, Fred. Just tell us who you are and where you're coming from and like what the weather's like or something.
Awesome. I'm Frederick Van Johnson. I am in California, Northern California, Sacramento. The weather is nice here. It's cold. It's like 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was a snow-free Christmas. For those of you that don't know me, which is probably most of you, I'm the host of This Week in Photo, which is a photography podcast network, which has been in hiatus for the last, 6 months, and is coming back in about a week now. So I'm excited to be here. This is kind of, Trey, this is kind of like my first foray out of, the veal cabinet into the daylight.
Gotcha. Okay, well, for those of you who don't know Fred, he is pretty much the man who is the only man who is universally loved in the photography community. So now we're going to go next to a guy that's about 50-50.
Very handsome. He's a very handsome man.
That's right. Jim Pollard, what's up, Jim?
Hey, how are you? I'm good.
All right, give us a little.
Can you hear me good?
The overall bullet points on the great Jim Pollard.
Well, I've literally just returned from a family Christmas, so I've just come back from 5 hours driving through holiday traffic. So I'm armed with alcohol and caffeine right now. But I'm a wedding photographer based in Queenstown, literally about 10 minutes from Trey and Tanya right now. So I'm waving to you guys just over the hill. And yeah, that's me. I'm a wedding photographer based down here in Queenstown, and lucky enough to do stuff all over the world and enjoy it very much.
Well, I'm loving the scruffy looking Jim Pollard with the possible male porn mustache. I like it. You know, it's just really keeping us all guessing.
Do you know the reason for this? Do you know the reason for this?
You're about to give a speech in Vancouver at some big wedding conference or something, right?
In Portland. In Portland. So I'm going to Mystic Seminars in Portland. And I have the understanding that it's the hipster capital of the world. So I figured that this could be my camouflage. So they could accept me. It doesn't matter what I say. Whatever I say, as long as I've got this moustache, it's true.
You're going to fit right into the Portland pedophile community. They're going to just, you guys. Okay. That's a good segue to Ron Clifford. What's up, Ron?
Hey, Trey. Actually, it's funny you're talking about mustaches. I know you have an affinity for mustaches. I brought this mug of a mug shot of me back in, I think this is like in the 90s. There you go. The cup is like #1 mustache.
Well, Ron Burgundy. I like it.
There you go.
You sell those online?
Hey, what's that, Thomas?
You sell those online?
No, but I could make it possible. Yeah, if you really want one, I could make it possible. Yeah, no, coming to you from a very chilly, just north of Toronto in Canada, where tonight it's only -15, but by the end of the week it's going down to below -20. So yeah, I got my little heater on beside me here. We're doing good.
Cool, excellent. And you are doing amazing work over at thearcanum.com. People just...
Yeah, we got a really active couple of cohorts there. We got, I think I have over 30 apprentices, really highly active apprentices, students that are just doing some fantastic work.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. Yeah, if anyone wants to come sign up for the Arcanum and maybe get under the tutelage of Ron, just go to thearcanum.com. We're finally profitable, by the way. We're not that profitable. We just barely have a break even.
Profitable.
Yeah, I think I don't have to put more money into it anymore. That's driving my wife nuts. Nutso. All right. Next up, Stuart, why don't you give us a little about yourself?
Hello, I'm Stuart Stu. I am sitting in a snowy Scotland just now, being stereotypical and drinking my whiskey. It's very late at night, so I'm allowed to, even though I'm technically working because I work for Trey, doing all his problem solving and being tech support and just generally answering questions.
You're the man, Stu. Thank you very much. And last but not least, my great friend Thomas Hawk. Thomas, we haven't done this in a long time.
Trey, it's been way too long, way too long. My name is Gino Barassa.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. It's great to be here. It's been way too long. It's the last time I saw you, I think you were in my living room. But
yeah, there's lots of drunken hoverboarding going on, as I remember. Really bad idea.
Yes, you could do that well, even with a few cocktails. Yes, and naked. And it was a fun evening. There were photos later.
That was a fun evening. Yeah, thank you for that. All right, let's get back into it. So actually, I don't even know really what you guys are shooting with so much. Like I said, I just got this Sony A7r III, and I wasn't that excited about it. You know, I knew it'd be like a little bit improved over the Mark II, which I loved. But to me, this Mark III comboed with this amazing new lens. This is the 24-105 G Master, which I guess means it's super professional or something. It's just incredible. I cannot believe the quality of photos I'm getting out of it. It's faster, and I'm finding it just easier to use, really, than the Hasselblad. It's 42 megapixels versus 50 megapixels, very fast versus very slow. My friend came over, we had a little Christmas party here, a little Stuck in Customs Christmas party, and there's some people playing tennis outside, and I had a professional photographer friend named Tommy come over. He goes, "Oh, the Hasselblad, can I play with it?" He goes, Trey, this is slow. He goes, I went out to go take a picture of a guy serving, and I looked at the result, and I got a picture of the guy returning the ball. So it's kind of, it's a pretty good analysis of how slow it can be. And this thing's like 10 frames per second now. Is anyone shooting Sony out there, or just me?
I think just you, huh?
I haven't made the leap. No, I haven't made the leap yet. I'm shooting with still a Nikon D750 because of its low light capability. But I got to tell you, I got some arm and shoulder problems starting to happen because I'm wielding around an 80-400 lens all the time. So yeah, there's definitely some muscle needed for these bigger cameras.
Yeah, I'm shooting the Canon 5D Mark IV, which is also big, and it's why I got these big guns, you know, walking around with that thing.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm on the GH5 from the Lumix. Looking forward to that G9 that's coming out next month, though. Hopefully.
What's the difference in the G9 and the GX5?
The GH5 is it's kind of a hybrid camera that's designed for both stills and video shooters. So, you know, with a foot in both wade pools. But the G9 is it's specifically for photographers. Let's say with lots of, they even took it back a notch towards DSLRs with the top of camera LCD or a liquid crystal display and all that stuff. So it's more of a, hey, we know, it's like Panasonic saying, yeah, we know we've been giving our video children a lot of love lately, and let's give the still photographers equal love and show that we can do that too. So I've literally held one in my hands at a trade show a couple weeks ago one time. I have not shot with it, so my knowledge comes from reading reviews and specs from people that are lucky enough to get one.
Right on. And Stu, I know you're a Sony man like me.
Yes, I'm still on the original A7, looking longingly at your A7R Mark III and thinking when I might jump onto that one, because I figure I'm going to treat cameras like phones, and every second generation make a jump to the next one, and that way there's a big enough gap to warrant that move.
I'm shooting with the phone too, an old iPhone.
Yeah, that's my primary shooter right there.
Guys, you got to switch to the Pixel. It's amazing. The new Pixel 2 camera. I'm working on a review of this thing, also not paid for by Google. I had to buy this thing full price, but to me, the camera is just ridiculous. It's using some really weird AI, especially in portrait mode, and the bokeh it does, it looks like it could be out of a 50mm f1.4. Have any of you tried the Pixel 2 yet?
No, I haven't. I'm on the 10, the iPhone 10, and the camera in that. I mean, we're at a level with these cameras that the quality is just ridiculous across the board. So it's like, you know, what level of unicorn tears do you want right now, right?
I'm still unicorn tears.
An old iPhone 4. It's the iPhone 4.
Wow. I've heard the same thing, Trey, from the friends I've had that have the Pixel. They just rave about it. They absolutely adore it. Yeah, that's my small unit that when I go on polar trips, this is on my camera 90% of the time. And it's a lot of handheld stuff when it's big like that. So I'm interested in hearing anything that's going to work well in cold weather that's a lot lighter than what I'm carrying now.
What camera was that, Ron? I couldn't see the top.
That's the D750. Amazing battery life. It performs super well in cold weather. When we share pictures later, I'll show you my camera growing frost, and it shoots all day for me. So
yeah, nice.
I hear, Trey, the new Sonys have really solved their battery things too. So
they have. These batteries are great. They're much bigger. It kind of sucks that you have to get all new batteries, but they last so long. Yeah, I've had this battery in here for about 4 days. Yeah. 5 days, I'm still at 43%, which is unheard of in the Sony world.
Thank goodness. Yeah, because that was a big issue. I remember at one of your workshops, Trey, you had a bag full of batteries just to get through the day, right? So
I did.
Close to it. And now what, one battery per trip? That's good.
Yeah, just one battery's all you need. What do you shoot with, master wedding photographer Jim Pollard?
So I'm shooting like Thomas. I got Canon 5D Mark IV, so I shoot with 2 of those bad boys on a system, a couple of prime lenses, and boom.
Cool. Hey Jim, I'm going to share my back, and I'm going to give a little plug for you. Ready?
Yeah.
It's also
okay. Go plug away.
It's also it's a little bit of a plug for me too, but I don't mean it.
Good. Double plug.
I don't really mean it like that, but it is really cool, and I think people like to know it. Okay, so where's my Vimeo? Okay, so I just finished doing a course at Kelby. It doesn't launch for a couple days, but it's about using this Photograph Pro thing where you can animate still pictures. And the cover image they chose for the whole course is Jim Pollard's image. It's a beautiful picture of a couple here in Queenstown. And let me press play here. Oh, what happened to it? Hello, I am Trey Ratcliff. So, and at the end of it, you get to see how the dress is moving. Whenever Kelby and those guys edit together this stuff, they always make it look really, you know, MTV Cribs style. So it's all like, it's probably not even playing smooth at all as it's being streamed through YouTube. Yeah. But I'll share the full thing in a few days. And here at the end, you can see Jim's dress a-flowing. There we go. Look at that flutter in the breeze, just like Jim's stash.
Very sexy.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what we're excited about next year. Anything going on with you, Thomas? What great cities are on your list?
I'm going to do a lot of trips. I've been trying to do maybe one trip every couple of months for a while. This last year I went to St. Louis and Chicago and did some more shooting on Route 66. And I went to the Southwest, flew down to Phoenix and drove all around Arizona and Tucson, New Mexico, and Monument Valley, Grand Canyon, all that stuff. I went shot the Oregon coast and went up to Portland, shot for a little while. But This next year, I think I'm going to go to Hawaii. I know next month, and then I'm going to go to New York and do some shooting there in Connecticut, and I think I want to go to Philadelphia and southern New Jersey, and maybe go to Salt Lake City and then drive up southern Wyoming and down into Denver, Colorado. I don't know. We'll see. Wherever.
You must be becoming like one of the world's foremost experts on American cities, because no one does what people do travel a lot, maybe for work or for a salesman or whatever, but you're really going to see these places, which most people don't do.
Yeah.
You probably have the biggest lexicon of all.
Yeah, I'm trying to shoot the 100 largest American cities and then the next 100 after that, and all the major highways and the roads and stuff. I'm not really getting out of America much because I want to focus on that. But yeah, it's it's the same old stuff: neon signs, museums, cityscapes. But all the stuff I've been doing for a decade, and just keep shooting all over and over again.
Right on. Where's your number one place to share now? Is Facebook number one for you?
Probably Flickr. I like Flickr the most. I've been probably on Flickr maybe the longest, I guess, but it's still, they've got a great website, big full high-res images, and it doesn't have quite the audience of like an Instagram or a Facebook these days, but I like the way that things presented, and I've got a lot of old friends over there. So, but I share stuff everywhere like you. I'll even still throw stuff up on old Google Plus from time to time.
I like Flickr too. I think it's kind of underrated. I still get a lot of traffic from Flickr, actually.
I believe it. It's mostly me. I reload your photo over and over and over again.
Thank you. So nice. Fred, what are you doing in 2018? You've always got lots of irons in the fire.
Yeah, 2018 is going to be interesting. Like I said at the beginning, lots of changes on This Week in Photo, mostly slimming down and being more focused in what we're doing. But like you guys, I want to take a page out of the "you have to go to where the photos are" book versus sitting at home waiting for photos to come to you. So yeah, lots of traveling coming up. In a couple months, I'll be heading to Alaska. Mexico trip's coming up, heading out to Canada. And all these are photo missions. So normally my mistake has been to try to tack on a photo mission on the end of some job trip or work trip or, speaking gig or something. But what you guys do, which I've known but never took the advice from, is go out there specifically for photography, take shots, and make everything else ancillary. So I do want to take a page out of Thomas's book as well and jump around the country, inside the United States a lot, because I feel like there's a ton of stuff just in my backyard here in California that I haven't touched on. So let me start there.
Right on. Ron, any fun stuff coming up for you in 2018? You just keep inspiring the world with your great critiques.
Yeah, I'm going to keep working with the students for sure with that. But I do a couple of things. It's kind of yin and yang, and I do a lot of polar travel. So I have a trip coming up the end of January to Antarctica. It's going to be the first time I'm going to fly over to King George Island. So take the airplane right over to Antarctica instead of crossing the Drake Passage. So that's got me a little nervous. But I have 3 polar trips planned this year. One to Antarctica, one to Svalbard, which is up in the Arctic Circle there alongside Greenland, the island that Norway owns, or islands that Norway owns. And then I'll be going back down in the fall to South Georgia Island. So that'll be pretty spectacular. Other than that, I hang out at the studio and I do a lot of portrait work. I've really leaned into portrait work in the last couple of years. And so when I'm not traveling and I'm not out doing the polar expedition stuff, I'm usually here doing either beauty or branding work here in the studio. So that's what I'm up to.
Right on. Cool. I've never been up to those Norwegian islands. Always wanted to go. It's a great trip. New Zealand, but I do want to make it over there.
Yeah, it is quite a trip from New Zealand. I mean, you're way out there.
Yeah. We are. Jim, other than all of your great speeches coming up, what else is going on? You're fully booked up for the next 3 years of weddings, I'm sure.
No, not at all. We keep it very open just in case some cool stuff comes along. But probably my most exciting trip this coming year is in northern Sweden. about 200 Arctic Circle. I think it's an ice hotel up there. So I got a wedding up there, which I'm really looking forward to.
Wow.
That's going to be epic.
So Ron.
I don't think I've ever seen any wedding.
Ron.
I'm sure they exist, but yours will be the first I see.
Yeah, what is that, Jim?
I'm actually interested to talk to Ron actually about the battery life, because I'm going to be shooting in pretty cold weather. So, and I've never really done that in super, super cold weather. So yeah, any tips you got there, mate?
Well, yeah, I first of all use a system that's known for its battery life. The Nikons are legendary for their battery life and working in cold weather. And when it gets, if you're in a situation where you have to shoot below -20°C, I just literally elastic a hand warmer to my hand grip.
Yeah.
And I've never had an issue. I know that the earlier versions of some of the Micro Four Thirds and even the Sony full frames had some battery issues, like we've heard, but they've really come a long way. They're starting to solve it. So I haven't tested any of those in the really cold environments, but I'm looking forward to trying.
Cool. Awesome.
So hope that's good information. It's just you got to go with someone who's trusted for battery life until the others have proven themselves, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm a Canon shooter, so here you go.
We have Canon people a lot, and they don't have battery issues, not too often. Yeah.
No. So it should be good. I quite often get the hand warmers, and I just strap them to my brides to keep them warm.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Get the body warmers.
Back cuddles and blankets and hand warmers.
Well, around here, our upcoming projects and travels are January. We're going to be in the Caribbean and Florida, drinking Mai Tais on the beach, taking photos. Then we're going to Hawaii and Japan. We're back to Japan. I'm excited. 9th time. My son, Ethan, who so far he's 16, who so far has shown no interest in anything in life. He has become a Japanophile. And now he loves Japan. He's pretty much taught himself Japanese. He's not totally fluent, but he's close. He went there with me a few months ago, loved it. After he graduates from high school, he wants to take a gap year and go teach English in Japan, which I think sounds like the coolest thing a 17 or 18-year-old could do, like, for a year. I think that'd be great for him to learn. And, I think when they're passionate about it, you just kind of support it no matter what. That's that. And then later, we're going to like 5 or 6 cities in China, new places I've never been. Excited about that. Going to Malaysia, Langkawi in Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, someplace in Thailand I never heard of. Koh Samui, yeah. Koh Samui. And then, of course, going to be back in the U.S. and LA, San Francisco, Denver, Austin, Dallas. And about half, and of course, Burning Man. That's something we're always going to go to now that we have an RV. It's going to be great. Yeah, I'm really excited. So when I go out for these things, the only reason for me to go on these trips is to try to make interesting work, right? I don't always do, but I at least try. So that's like the main level. But then now my new sub level is like the tech side, trying to figure out if I'm going to use the Sony or the Hasselblad, because really using 2 completely different camera systems, it kind of fucks with your head a little bit. You just have a completely different approach with each one, because you have different lenses, different subject matter, all this sort of stuff. So that's gonna, I hope, provide a little bit of tension. I think it's okay to have a little bit of uncomfortableness when you travel, because it really makes you think about the situation in a nice way. Yeah, so that's what's coming up here. Oh, and we're gonna be, when I travel around, I'm gonna start doing this more and more. Thank God now I have Tanya's help. This is also not a product placement, but this is an Insta360 camera. It's obviously 360. It's got 2 little bulbous things right there. It's about the size of a starter vibrator, and it shoots in 4K. And so you can stick it on the end of a selfie stick. And the cool thing about it is that when it stitches together the video, it automatically erases the selfie stick. So it looks like there's a camera just floating out there kind of in front of my face. And when you get tired of looking at me, right away, people that watch the video, they can grab it on YouTube and spin it around, like look at the mountains or look at Mount Fuji or whatever. So I think this would be kind of a fun way to do like travel log. I try to do like inspirational stuff and maybe some tech tips and try to mix it up. So always changing up equipment and stuff like that around these parts.
Do they have a more realistic looking version?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't know.
You said it was a starter dildo. That's what he's getting at.
I'm just wondering if they have a more realistic looking version.
We can market that. You can put on Kickstarter.
To me, Thomas.
Hey.
You're like, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
I'm just saying, you know, there could be a market out there. You never know.
I like it. I like the way you think, Thomas.
So Trey, you're bringing all three cameras with you: the Hasselblad, the Sony. It's a lens kit with that, and the 360. You're going to shoot with all three, and your phone, right? The Pixel.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot with all three and my Pixel phone. Hey, where's the other lens for the? So this is the other lens I got. This is the other G series lens. This is the. I'm
just saying.
Get the G series. Well, in my wide angle conundrum now, I've got this one at 12 to 24 full frame. Great. I love going super wide on some of these landscapey or architecture shots. But then I just got this other new lens, which Tiny's getting. It's the G Master 16 to 35, which has like a 75% Venn diagram overlap. But I think that one's going to be better because it's a G series, and I'm not a lens snob at all. But there is a little bit of a difference. So why not shoot with the best?
Exactly.
Trey, what do you?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I'm just interested to know what he's using on his Sony now.
On my Sony?
Yeah. You were always a Leica man. Are you back into those?
Well, now this is my main lens, the 24 to 105 f4. I still shoot with the Leicas quite a bit, but this is like when I do like a dedicated, or like this is the 90mm f2. And then this is actually my favorite lens of all. This is the 35mm Cinelux f1.4. You know, again, the bad thing about the Leica lenses is they're all fixed. They're all prime, so you don't have a lot of flexibility. And I like having the flexibility of being able to zoom out and zoom in. I don't know, mostly because I'm lazy and I hate changing lenses.
I'm the black sheep in the wedding world because I like the 24-70.
Yeah, I know that's a popular one amongst you kind of people. Hey, Jim, amongst you kind of people, let's do a little story time, little photo show and tell time. I'll let you guys go first. I'll end. I was going to show my 12, 13 favorite photos from 2008. That'll be what I share. But you guys go first. Jim, you go. You've always got winner.
Am I going first? Or who's going first?
You go, Jim Pollard.
Well, how do I do this? Because now I'm a bit of a rookie at this, so I might need some
guidance.
Advice.
Here's what you do. Okay, you click share screen over on the left. You move also
screen share.
You see that little green thing. Your desktop. So watch out. You never know what's going to be on Jim Pollard's desktop.
Oh. Well, I'm actually using my wife's computer.
Lightroom or iPhoto or whatever.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for this? This could be awful. This could be good.
We're ready for it, Jim. Don't worry. We have loads.
I am at the ready with Jim's photos if required.
Oh, have you got some? Okay, all right, I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to try it out. It did something weird then. My entire screen. Okay. Okay, does that work?
Yeah.
Yep. We got her.
Okay. Oh, I just came back again. All right. I don't. It keeps doing weird. Okay, so here's a photo. Can you see this couple hanging out on top of this mountain thing?
Yes.
Good. All right. So this is a awesome couple from Nova Scotia who got married in Croatia, in Dubrovnik, early this year. And I was really not super stoked on the shooting conditions in Dubrovnik. So next day we did this awesome little trip down to Kotor in Montenegro. And we drove up this incredible road called the Serpentine, which has about, I think it's something like about 32 switchbacks climbing up from this incredible fjord. and we found this beautiful little spot to capture the evening Mediterranean sun. And yeah, this is a really amazing spot. And actually, I have to say that Montenegro is my new favorite spot in the world right now.
Awesome, incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna swing to the next picture. Do you have any questions about this, or you just want to keep on blasting through?
Yeah, just keep on giving us your show and tell. Just give us we'll interrupt if we have any questions. Go for it.
I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen here. There we go. Classically, another couple. This is just outside Queenstown. We flew up in this little helicopter, day of their wedding. And what I like about this photo is this is the most interesting light. That crazy sort of purple hues. And I really didn't muck around with this too much in post. But it was just a really amazing just time, really, just for that light and the couple, and they just got married. So yeah, pretty awesome spot. Here's a couple in top of the South Island of New Zealand. This was probably the wettest wedding I've ever encountered in my life, and the couple were amazing. They just wanted to get out there into it, and they hired this little boat to take their wedding party right to the very end of this lake, the Nelson Lakes National Park. And the funny thing was about this little boat, it's pouring of rain, and only half of it was covered. So half of the wedding party were absolutely soaked, and the other half were in the cabin. And they went for this big hike up through this forest, up to this beautiful waterfall, which was fantastic. And I got some great shots up there. But on the way back, as we were going to the reception, I saw this sort of pontoon, a swimming platform out in the lake, and just asked them to go and hang out on top of that, and because they're absolutely drenched. And yeah, just got them to hang out on there. I just snapped a few photos, and yeah, I'm really stoked with this. This is quite a cool little and slightly different photo. And another couple, they just got married in the town hall in Queenstown and want to do something a little bit different. And they, just the most awesome couple, as all my couples are. And we're just lucky enough to get this beautiful sort of sun shower coming through with the rays of light passing through it. And of course the wind, and it's just that beautiful flowing dress. Yeah, all came together. So that's pretty cool. I'm afraid there's going to be lots of couple shots because that's kind of what I do. Oh, this was taken last week. So this was
very stunning, Jim.
Sorry?
Spectacular.
I'm watching the YouTube comments.
Okay.
You can see live comments. People are
okay, cool.
very impressed.
Cool. Good. That's always a good start. So this was taken last week, actually. I had a really good photographer friend from Vancouver that was staying with me, and I had this couple that were celebrating their honeymoon, a couple from Singapore, I believe it was, and we arrived at this beautiful spot, and we just captured this awesome, again, this beautiful light coming through the clouds. And if you can kind of see, I don't know how easy it is to see, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Kias in the air, which are New Zealand alpine parrots. So they tend to live on top of the mountains, and these delinquents, these teenage parrots, decided to come around and hang out with us during the photo shoot. So that's pretty cool. And what else we got in here? Oh, it's just another beautiful couple on top of a mountain with a bit of lake showing. Fantastic. What else we got in here? More mountain, awesome. I'm just going to kind of skip through these.
Jim, I'm noticing that you don't have any photos of any girl-on-girl action
Yep.
or guy-on-guy. Is this because you are famously quoted as saying that homosexuality is a crime against God? And am I right on that quote?
No, I just don't tend to shoot a huge amount of gay weddings. I've got a gay wedding happening in February near Christchurch. But it's one of those classic things that if you show something, you tend to get requested to do more of it. So I tend to sort of, because I do a lot more, I tend to show more heterosexual couples. So that's what I get more requests to shoot more of. Because that kind of makes sense. So there's nothing against gay weddings in any shape or form. Just what I do.
I appreciate you.
This couple,
keep on going.
This couple are awesome. So these guys, I shot their elopement about 2 or 3 weeks ago. As you can probably tell, they're a slightly older couple. sort of in their 60s. And these guys, I say, they just got married. They were actually childhood sweethearts all through high school. And then they separated when they went off to college, university, and sort of did their own thing, had their own families. And that didn't work out for them. And randomly just happened to sort of bump into each other and rekindle that love, and boom, got married again. So it was really awesome. So it was a particularly fantastic wedding. So they don't all have to be young and good looking. They can be old and good looking too. I'd say that. Actually, this is in a Balkan. So this is just this random old
cool
art university, which I just happened to drive past, and I just thought it was really cool. What I particularly like about this is if you can kind of see to the far right-hand side, there's just these two Balkan guys just smoking these big filthy cigars in the corner, just wondering what on earth we're doing, which I particularly think is awesome. So what else we got here? Oh, you might be lucky. That might be it. Yep, that's all I've got right now. There you go. Awesome. So I'm going to come back out of here, and I'm going to remove screen share.
It's always, you know, it's always tough to compete with these wedding photographers because they always have such good stories, right? All their stories have a little bit of relationship drama, and so that's one great thing that wedding photographers do when they show their work and when they talk about their work. You've always got a nice little. Who wants to go next?
Ron does.
I saw you unmute. I figured, oh, good. Thomas is going to go next. Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, I can go next. Sure. Let me get some things up. Just before I switch over to my images, I'll qualify this by saying I tell people I'm a portrait photographer, and I take portraits of people and I take portraits of nature. And I say that because I love to capture beauty and character in the people I meet and the places I travel. So I'm going to pull up some polar adventure shots. I'm also going to show one of my cameras as the first shot. We'll stick to the wildlife and kind of polar stuff for this one, but you'll see when I go through here why I say I'm a portrait photographer. So let me pull that up, do the screen share. I'll share that screen. Come over here. Let's just go to full screen. And we'll click on the first one. So this is my camera, and this is the only not polar shot, but it's in Northern Ontario. And it was kind of about this time of year I took a trip up there, and it was below 20 below. I bought a good Jeep Plus friend up from Pennsylvania, and we went up, and he was a little shocked at how cold it could be. But this camera is a frost actually growing on the camera, and it was performing really well at that temperature. Now, I don't think it would perform for 8 straight hours, but we were only out there for a couple of hours, and I didn't have to change batteries, but I did keep my hand around the grip area of the camera quite a bit. So I just wanted to show that before I went on to some more. And crossing the Drake Passage, I mentioned that I'm going to be flying over to the Antarctic Peninsula this time, well, to King George Island, and then we're sailing over to the Antarctic Peninsula. So I get to bypass the Drake Passage on one crossing, but I still get it on the way back. And for those that don't know, the Southern Ocean, the Drake Passage, is the roughest sea in the world, and it can really whip up even in the Antarctic summer. So this was a fine, beautiful trip, and I got a little green on this one. I think most of the people did, maybe even the captain. Storytelling. I'm always I don't know, I just can't help but teach and share. And when you're shooting wildlife, look for character, look for the story. And I just call this the bicker bundle. You know, it's really kind of funny. They're yammering at each other about who knows what. And then again, you know, isolating against the others. I couldn't not take this picture at Yankee Harbor. Again, they call me Mr. Penguin. You know, it happened to be snowing, just a light bit of snow, and this guy was walking right toward me, looking down. And how can you resist? And this one speaks for itself. You know, that penguin is kind of wait for me guy. And sometimes everything looks kind of like fine art. When you're in, everything is white. The clouds are white, the background's white, there's snow, the foreground's white, and then this, on top of this hill, there's penguins on their rookery before it melts, and there was some rock poking out of the snow, and it looked abstract. I loved this image. Again, storytelling. The southern skua is the only land predator of penguin eggs and chicks, and this just says it all. It's flying over, and they're none too happy about it. And the two of them happened to have a little bit of blue sky they were looking up into. It's kind of like love. Penguins are actually some of the most affectionate birds I've ever witnessed during the mating season. They're remarkably affectionate, them as well as albatross. And so again, look for character, look for storytelling. And that's he's doing a mating call there. It's a chin strap penguin, but I was really struck by the geometric shapes of the image. I love ice. This image, I can't even tell you the scale. Trey, you would know a little bit about the scale. You've been down to Antarctica. But at the very bottom of this image is a massive glacier that would dwarf our ship if we got close to it. Antarctica is the highest, driest, coldest, windiest place on Earth. It's a place called Desolation Sound, and it was an old whaling station. And I processed this image to have a bit of that feeling of the fact that it's an old deserted whaling area, maybe a little bit dark and gloomy. Sunsets last a long, long time in Antarctica because you're getting close down to the Antarctic Circle and the sun just hovers over that horizon for quite a while. I think this sunset lasted about 20 minutes. I was fortunate to have this featured by National Geographic, won the Daily Pick and got featured on their blog. And this image is all water. The snow in the scene, if you zoom in on that, you get to see snow, and you get to see mist, and you get to see cloud, and you get to see ocean, and you get to see a flipped glacier. Yeah, one of my favorite images of all time. Again, I'm going to go through a few of character before I sew it up, but love this image. Baby elephant seals are the most curious creatures on Earth and the friendliest. Here's two female elephant seals gossiping. And playful, man, are they playful. They come right up to you. These guys will just scooch on right up to you there. And there's us sitting in the sand. And this guy just came up and literally put his nose right to our cameras and was looking at us, checking us out.
Do you give them any fish?
No, we don't. They're just curious. I think with the Antarctic police or the South Georgia police would come and arrest us if we fed a baby elephant seal. Love the birds. When we're on the ship, you have a lot of sea days. And so during sea days, you're trying to capture birds. So I challenged myself to try and take it a little bit above, like getting the wingtip, touching the water, or working with reflections, or just trying to get that shot, the one that sets it apart. Birds on the cliff. This is like fine art. This is like Hotel Guillemot. And this is actually in the north. This is the Arctic now. A place called Akafellet, very famous bird cliffs. Polar bear. We didn't see that many polar bears in the last two trips, but this guy was pretty cooperative, this girl. But I loved how the line in the background kind of mimicked the line of the bear.
How close did you get to that bear?
Well, that shot with my 80 to 400. So he actually came. I have other shots much closer because we were in a Zodiac. And so he came pretty close to us, but not in this shot. This is probably at about 300 millimeter, full frame. And this was a flipped iceberg. We saw the biggest it flipped while we were watching it. And this, if you know ice at all, this is known as black ice, some of the most dense ice. And it was an amazing, amazing scene. This is like the size of a city block. This is so huge I can't even explain it. If I zoomed in, eventually you'd see little specks that are seagulls, just little tiny, it looks like dust spots that are not seagulls, they're kelp gulls. But in Monaco Breen, that day was incredible. I think Lori Novak is watching. She got some amazing shots as well. She went on this one trip to Svalbard. I love ice. I absolutely adore ice, reflections, water, and both polar regions there. So I sew that up. I don't want to take too much longer. Just skip through a couple more. I mean, the ice is ever changing. It's just, I can never get enough of it. And so we're leaving the Arctic now. Had another one featured by Nat Geo actually just a couple of weeks ago. That was this one. But I'm gonna let that go and let somebody else take over the screen and show us what they're doing. But that's the love I have for the Antarctic.
Awesome, Ron.
Awesome, Ron. That was great. There's a lot of those I hadn't seen before. Hey, I have a quick Antarctica story I'll tell you. Kind of funny. But first, Ron, you'll be the guy to know this. What's the name of that whale? It kind of has a really long, pointy nose.
The minke whale.
narwhal. A what?
A narwhal has the tusk. Yes.
No, it's something like a pilot whale, or
Well, there's
something.
a pilot dolphin.
No, it wasn't a dolphin. I know the difference between a dolphin and a whale.
Yeah.
But
So it's not a narwhal, because a narwhal has a tusk, but not a pointy nose.
it was, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I'll look at the footage because we had, so we were in a helicopter and we were going right behind this icebreaker, like really, really low to the water. And we saw this cool broken ice, and, I'm taking photos in the front, and we had a GoPro on the front of the helicopter. And we said we're super low. We're this crazy South Islander pilot named Hef. So we're going really low on the water. And all of a sudden, this whale breached way out of the water, and our helicopter almost hit the whale. But he immediately pulled back and did like this 360 around it, like this bullet time 360 around the whale. The coolest, wildest experience I've ever been in.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, because a pilot whale is actually a dolphin, and it doesn't have the long beak. It's a snub beak. So, yeah.
I gotta look it up. I gotta look at the footage. I need to know my animals. I feel like I failed.
I know quite a few of them, but yeah, I don't know that one. So, actually, one of the funniest things, not funny, a really cool thing was one of our trips over to South Georgia. Somebody spotted and photographed a whale that has yet to be identified and confirmed. They didn't know the species. It was sent to some special organizations to try and isolate the species. So there's stuff out there we still haven't fully discovered. It's pretty cool.
Cool beans. Hey, Thomas, you want to go next? I'm gonna sip some Chardonnay while you show us your wares.
Let's see. All right, I'll go next. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this should work. Screen share. We'll screen this one. Okay, can you guys see that?
Oh yeah.
So I just pulled a few quick photos together. Kind of nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing really specific, but these are just a couple of trips that I went on this year and some of the stuff I shot. I've probably shot about 20,000 photographs of neon signs at this point all over America. This is a kind of a classic one in Albuquerque, the El Don Motel. I was in the Southwest earlier. There's, so many of these neon signs, they're going away. I research them on Flickr, and then I'll drive out to some place, an hour outside of Milwaukee or wherever, to get this great motel old neon sign from the 50s, and it'll just be an empty lot with nothing there. And so you try to shoot them when you can. This is kind of a classic one in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There's a lot in there. It's along Route 66, a pretty famous one. Most of those are probably okay, but picture from earlier this year. I wanted to kind of put a little bit of a plug in, not a plug, but an interesting visit. If anybody ever visits San Francisco, or you're from San Francisco, to check out Pier 24. And Pier 24 is a really interesting place for photography. It's probably the most impressive photography museum, if you could call it that, that I know of. And they have shows that generally they last about 5 or 6 months, and it's free admission. You just have to go to search them on the internet, and you can find their site, and you have to get an appointment. Can be kind of difficult to get in, but they have a lot of really great photographs by, the most, I don't know what you would call them, the well-regarded fine art photographers, these days, the photos you'll see in museums. And I love seeing things printed really big. And so this is a Paul Graham photograph. I took a photograph of the photograph, obviously, here, and kind of a different angle on it myself. But if you find yourself in San Francisco and you've got a little bit of a month or so before you have to be here, and you can make an appointment, I'd recommend checking this place out. Here's another photograph by Andreas Gursky. He's got the most, I think, the most expensive photograph ever auctioned. But this is this photo. You can't really tell from here because it's just a square, quick iPhone shot I took, but it. This photo is like 8 feet tall and 20 feet wide, and it's, this Formula One auto racing, and it's a great way to see if you want to see really big work printed up and in a big gallery space. it's fairly cool. I drove the Oregon coast this summer, which has beautiful bridges. This is from Newport, Oregon, I think. And it's an old Gothic style bridge. There's so many iron bridges along the Oregon coast, but this was one of the most dramatic ones. My buddy Scott Jordan and I, he drove out to Seattle, and I flew up to Seattle and met up with him, and we drove over to the coast and just drove down the coast all the way back down to San Francisco. And just a great classic road trip, one of the most beautiful American roads. This is from that same trip, again, another steel bridge. We stopped off, and there was, change it that way. This is just an old railroad bridge. You're not supposed to go up there and walk on them. They have signs and stuff, but they're just, it's begging to be photographed. So I climbed up there and took some pictures of it. I went to Portland earlier this year. This is a kind of a famous Japanese maple in the Portland Japanese, I guess, botanical garden or whatever it's called. It's kind of interesting. I've been wanting to shoot this tree for a long time, and so I went there. I think, when did I go? Maybe in September to Portland, and I went to the Japanese garden, and I looked all over for about 45 minutes for this tree, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then finally, I asked somebody who worked there. I'm like, this tree, and I showed them the picture on Flickr, and obviously it's a very dramatic tree. I've seen it, and I want to take a picture of it. And she's like, oh yeah. People, it's hard. It's kind of hard to find that one. And she takes me up to this little bush that must have been about 5 feet tall. And that's all this is. It's a little bush about 5 feet tall. There's a little hole in the bottom. You stick your camera in, and you shoot up. And it's just years and years, and I guess decades, I don't know, of careful trimming on this tree and to create this interesting tree. But I'm glad I got to shoot that. I went to Chicago with my friend Daniel Krieger earlier this year, and spent a few days there shooting. This is in the I guess Lincoln Park Zoo, maybe is that, I think it's what it's called. It's just a kind of a gazebo type structure or an arch. I don't know what you would call it, but it's there's an architecture firm called Studio Gang that did this, and it's just kind of very abstract. And I've been wanting to shoot that for a while. So those are just a few photos that I took. A couple trips this year, and then Pier 24, which is an interesting place if you find yourself in San Francisco and want to look at fine art photography. So that's it for me.
Good stuff, Thomas. Always inspirational. And I think the kind of stuff that Thomas shows, like once you fall in love with photography, there's just photos all over the place. And you really never get tired of it. So that's one reason I like his work so much. All right. Frederick, do you have something special for us?
I do. I thought I would do a forward-looking kind of view of what 2018 might look like. Stu said that we could show anything we wanted.
Absolutely.
So brace yourself. No.
I want to see some Frederick Van Johnson bathroom selfies.
Brace yourself. So let me.
Selfies of Frederick Van.
No. Yeah. You got to get those online somewhere. Okay, so Trey, you mentioned that you had a course up. I honestly didn't know that you had a course up on this stuff, these motion portrait photograph type things. So I think I need to dive into your course. But this has been kind of like my brain keeps going back to this type of photography over the past couple of years, and I think those trips that I mentioned that I'll be going on in the next couple of months here over 2018 is going to be focused on doing this kind of photography in particular versus the whole, the idea of just letting serendipity and strike you and you get a great image. The plan is to plan out these types of images and then head out to the locations to create these things. So this is a site called Plota, I guess it's plotaverse.com. And the interesting thing about these things are you may have seen cinemagraphs before where there's a little bit of animation added into a photo. Like Trey was saying in the beginning, these are shots that animation has been added in after the photo was taken, which means you can go in and harvest your photo library and create images or motion images or movies based on still images that look in many cases really realistic. So what I thought I wanted to do, what I think we're going to do is head out there with the idea of a storyline in place and create these images versus, you know, just going through a library and saying, oh, this might look good with some motion, you know, actually create a story showing the tool versus, you know, kind of a demonstration of the technology. So as you roll through these things, you can see how they're inspirational. There's, like any tool, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So you can get as cheesy as you want with these, or, you know, subtlety goes a long way with these kind of shots. You can really do some interesting things. And all I'm doing is rolling over these images on the front page of their website. You can see the diversity of the images that they have on here. And so just kind of get your brain going in terms of the kind of shots that you could create.
Hey, and by the way, Fred, let me interrupt because it doesn't come off as smooth over the broadcast. It's showing like 1 frame a second. So, but if people go to plotiverse.com and look at some of these things, they really play back at 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, and it is super smooth and mesmerizing.
Yeah, and I did a talk. I did a couple of talks over the past couple of months. One in Colorado Springs and another one in Ohio, and when you start merging these kinds of techniques together is when things get really interesting. So there's a company out there called, I think it's Live Portrait. I think it's Live Portrait, where, and they basically have an app that you take the camera on your phone, aim it at a still photograph, where there'd be a billboard or a 4x6 or whatever, and it will, in augmented reality, replace that image with the motion version that you've paired it with. So what that gives you is kind of a Harry Potter type experience where you could create a print, say of one of these that are on the screen here, create a wall-size print, and then have someone walk up to it with their phone, aim it at it, and then the thing kind of comes to life with, you know, either just motion or sound and motion. So that's kind of forward looking towards 2018. These are photographs that we're looking at right now. There's also the concept of cinemagraphs, which is a shot that was created from a clip of video. In most cases these days, it's a 4K clip or an 8K clip or a 6K clip, but it's a clip of video that you then selectively release motion in. And again, like Trey said, this is probably playing back stuttery on the live stream, but these are fully fluid 30, 60 frame per second images. And the difference between these things are, you can tell, like for example, this one I'm playing right now is a guy standing in front of a body of water that's moving really fast. You couldn't do something like this in Plotograph software, or it wouldn't look this realistic. So that's actually water that was moving right there. Whereas in Plotograph, it works better on, you know, things that maybe, I don't know, Trey, you could jump in and have kind of a repeating pattern in them, or, you know, a high frequency, but things that are that you can, it's harder to tell exactly where nature ends and the animation begins. So these are actually pretty cool. So like this one, for example, obviously you can never do something like this in a Plotograph. You would need a cinemagraph to do something like this, where you take an actual scene that happened and then freeze part of it and let part of it go to kind of tell the story. And the thing, and I'll wrap it up with this. Here's a couple that I did. So this is an example of a cinemagraph, actually. So if I play this is the only thing that you see moving in this shot is the teapot and the tea and her forearm sort of moving, and a little bit of movement in her hat there. So we did this in a haunted castle in Ione, California. And literally it was a haunted place. I think I saw some people in there. But it's, you know, you do these kinds of things and you kind of build them with the mindset of, you know, what's the story that I'm trying to tell versus let me demonstrate this cool technology. And here's another one, if I can find my mouse. My mouse just disappeared. That's interesting. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here's another one. So same place, where this is upstairs in the haunted castle, where you have, again, both of these shots that I'm showing here, this one and this one were 4K video clips that, you basically freeze a 4K frame, which is roughly, 8 megapixels, or exponentially higher, depending on if you're shooting higher than 4K or not. But this is a 4K frame that was frozen, and you selectively release motion in it to tell the story. So the overall technique is surprisingly simple, but if executed properly, it really could go a long way in telling a story. So that's what I have going on in 2018, starting I think next month.
Frederick, let me ask you a question. Do you think with marijuana becoming legal in California now that these photographs are going to get a lot more popular?
I had no idea where that question was going.
I mean, I'm just
yeah, they'll become a lot more enjoyable. Yeah, I agree. Yes, they will become more popular and more psychedelic, I guess.
I just sit there and watch that thing on the screen for about 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And get hungrier and hungrier, right?
Right. Domino's Pizza delivers, right?
Yeah, I know. But someone like you, Thomas, like you got a library of, trillions of images that are all amazing, right? You could literally go back into your library, harvest one or two, and add animation to it, and add new life into that image. So it's an interesting technology that they have going on.
Hey, we'll both make some photos and get the bong out.
Are you ready for this hangout to be over? Is that what's going on?
Oh, no.
Awesome. Cool.
Hey,
that's all I got.
Pollard, do you think that these animated still photos would ever become popular in the wedding community?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that since you did that picture of mine, Trey. See, there's always this big kind of way up between printed pictures and digital pictures. Having a big printed picture on your wall on beautiful art paper versus having a digital image on your computer or iPad or TV. I was really intrigued, and I was really intrigued when we shared that picture that you had edited with your software. Just on the reaction from our fan base, and they were very positive. They were really positive. So I was, I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I'm just very interested from a wedding point of view to see where it will go and how it will go.
I'm always the marketer.
Sure.
I'm always the marketer, and I can totally see you selling a high-end digital frame with 2 or 3 of those from a wedding. As a compliment, you could have a short slideshow, but 2 or 3 of them would feature the flowing movement. Digital frames can be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or just create a print, a regular wall-size print, put it on the wall, and use that software I was mentioning to marry it to a video version.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah,
it's a pull-through item for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued. It reminds me a little bit from the idea of the sort of the magic eye from the sort of the 80s or 90s. When you're kind of staring at an image and you finally see the Statue of Liberty or something. I kind of get that. I kind of keep staring at them and I just see them. There you go.
The only thing as a wedding photographer, though, you take those pictures, and then next thing you know, you'd be wanting to do some of those video pictures, and you'd get in a fight with the videographer. You'd be like on his territory. You'd be like, this is my realm. I'm the video guy. You're the photo guy.
Yeah, well, it's moving into that very much so. It's crossing the borders a little bit. Yeah, very much so.
Some of those video guys can be tough.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I don't worry about it. They're top heavy, man. Just trip them.
We definitely have a love-hate relationship with them. We definitely have to advise our couples when we're working with them on their wedding day. Look, they've got a job to do, and they do a really good job, but it's a very different job to photographers. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You got any good horror stories about wedding videographers?
Yeah, heaps. Look, look, I think the biggest thing, it's not really a horror story as such, but it's just, again, they have a different agenda. Quite often they have to, look, I like to tell couples we're more Nat Geo than Vogue, if that makes sense. So we kind of want their day just to unfold naturally. and they can just get on with it as if we weren't there. Now, with videography, it's a little bit more, not always, and there is definitely some really good exceptions out there, but it becomes sometimes a little bit of production. And, you know, one of those classic moments of the wedding day is like the first look. Some couples choose to do a first look before the ceremony. And it's quite a special moment, you know. This is the time when they get to see each other without anyone else around. It's a really beautiful moment. And I had it where a team of videographers, made them do it 5 times.
Oh.
And you know, it's just, for me, I remember the bride just looking at me with just this raised eyebrow, just going, this isn't what we envisaged at all.
Yeah.
But I think it's our duty to say, look, well, this may happen, depending on who you work with, and just expect that, you know, it will change how your wedding day experience is. Now, I'm not saying every videographer is like this. There's some really awesome people that work really well with us, and there's other people that don't, and it's like anything. So we're happy. We just have to advise, simple as that.
But in general, videographers are a couple steps down on the intelligence ladder, right?
So I'm not going to go down that road, but they're just different.
I'm saying in general. Okay, different. We'll leave it at that. Different.
When it gets interesting, where it gets interesting though, Thomas, is when you start introducing drones, particularly in ceremonies.
Oh my God.
And I have seen some outstanding drone accidents.
Nothing could ever go wrong getting 4 props at high power on a little remote control at a wedding.
Yeah, and Ron, you add a veil to that, it becomes really exciting.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah.
No comment. Yeah.
I'm just kidding about videographers. There's some nice guys out there that do that work.
Yeah.
Right, guys.
I used to shoot,
guys. Really.
Yeah, I used to shoot weddings.
When I share my photos here, I'm going to make one last ditch effort to sell you on the Pixel phone, and I'll tell you one thing. One of my friends here had an iPhone X, and they were showing me photos on it, and I found it incredibly annoying, that little notch that's there, right? It's a perfect rectangle. It looks gorgeous, and there's this little notch. It reminds me of like a watermark, or these things that, you know, me and Thomas hate. It's like an Apple watermark. You just, to me, it completely ruins the photo.
Someone
hold that up again, Jim. Let me see that.
Hairline.
Yeah, hold that up again, Jim. Oh, that notch up at the top. Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that weird? And so when you look at a full image, you can see a little notch out of part of it. It's ridiculous.
Huh.
Steve Jobs never would have let that happen.
Oh.
No. Which is why I have a Samsung Galaxy. You know, it's.
Yeah, and I don't get it. Why they're so big on this Face ID thing. The cool thing about the Pixel is you pull it out of your pocket, you put your finger right on that. So finger,
yeah,
the finger it knows your finger. So good to go. Anyway, okay. Let me share photos, and I'm gonna start. Well, I'm gonna show my favorite photos from 2018, but I'm gonna start with a few quick Pixel photos. Okay.
Okay.
Really push the boat out there a little bit more. Share your entire screen. Okay. I'm going to show you like 6 Pixel photos. All right, this is.
I know this guy.
This is actually Tane's dad, Dave Gent. I don't know if you remember the band, the Exponents, a famous New Zealand band, but he's the guitarist for it, and he comes over quite a bit. We got to be friends, and of course he's Tane's dad. But you can see what I did with the bouquet here. He's not the normally kind of guy that stops to smell the roses, but it uses AI and machine learning and computational photography to figure out like where the face is, and then it slowly does the bouquet in the background, just like a 50mm lens. Here's another one. This is my daughter Scarlett, and all these, by the way, are edited on the Pixel, just using the built-in software. I might have done a few using Snapseed, but mostly it's just in-camera software. This is her. She loves to come to my studio and get chocolate. She'll probably be out here pretty soon.
All right.
Here's Tane. Remember the guy that makes the magic balm? He had just recently lost his outer epidermis right before this photo was taken. He still looks good. This is in Arrowtown at the long lunch. Here's my friend Mark Richter. So what you do with the phone when you want to take a picture of someone is you put it in portrait mode. And so that gets it thinking like this, right?
Yeah, because you got incredible.
Isn't it incredible? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Holy
just ridiculous.
smokes.
And so buttery smooth, and very little post on this. I think I clicked like one of the filters that has kind of like built-in filters like Instagram. Here's just a couple other shots. This is taken really late at night, quite dark. That says Scarlet. This is up in Auckland. Here's just a cool looking tree I saw while walking across Waiheke Island. And this is sort of a landscapey shot in an old barn out in the middle of nowhere. And sometimes it's just, you know, satisfying to take a quick mobile phone shot, and as well as taking other shots. And then when you're driving around or going to a coffee shop, you kind of play with the mobile phone shots. You're like, this is pretty good. I'm not disappointed. Okay, moving on to my favorite shots of 2017. This is a cool spot. This is in Wolfsburg, Germany, and it's a huge Volkswagen car robot.
Wow.
And so people make pilgrimages here from all over Europe, because this is where the biggest Volkswagen plant is, and they come pick up their cars, stay a few nights, and then drive them home.
Wait a minute. What do you mean a robot?
A robot. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this little thing down here at the bottom, but that's like a big robot arm, and it goes up and down and picks up cars and delivers them to different people in different areas.
Wait. So it climbs up there and it picks up that car and it brings it down to the ground or something?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Cool. Wow.
Cool, huh? And the other reason I like this photo, and I tend to like photos that are confusing, where you can't figure out what the heck's going on. Because I think by removing information, sometimes it makes it more interesting. Yeah. All right, next up. This is one I took a couple weeks ago in Okinawa, Japan. And that's Tane there on the right. And that's Olya on the left, our crazy Russian videographer. And I was taking photos of these are whale sharks, and they were just kind of boring. And so I was like, I'm going to put 2 humans in there to give it a little bit of scale. I try to put humans or anything in there as much as I can for scale. It's hard because, you know, Ron was talking about those massive glaciers. I know how big they are. But unless you get a human or something in there, a boat, it's just hard to tell what they are. And I don't want to like Photoshop people or Photoshop in boats. So I just I don't set up a lot of shots, but this is one I did kind of set up. This is in, what's this, Tony? Manarola?
Yeah.
In Cinque Terre. There are these 5 little seaside towns along the Italian coast. There's little trains you take between them. And so I took this somehow after a long day of drinking and eating pizza and Italian food. And at this point, it was raining. It was quite pouring. And I think it was like a 3 or 3.5 minute exposure taken with the Hasselblad. One great thing about the Hasselblad, I will say, is that you can do exposures longer than 30 seconds. You can go all the way up to 30 minutes. You just dial it up, dial it down. I don't know why all cameras don't do that. It's like software, you know?
It is frustrating.
Yeah. Here's a photo from Burning Man. I used mostly there a Fuji X Pro T2. What is it called?
XT2.
XT2. I like it because it's weatherproof, and I used one the previous year at Burning Man. I used all 3 cameras at Burning Man, but some of my favorite shots were with this little Fuji because I wasn't worried about it getting in the sandstorm.
Yeah, I love that Fuji.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's actually a serious consideration for the smaller cameras for me is that XT2 because it's weather sealed so well.
Yeah, tough. You can hold it under a water faucet and take photos.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would. This is Mont Saint Michel in France. This is when we did a little European tour. This was about halfway through. It's great to go here at night because no one's around. And I think this is a long exposure of the last bus leaving across this bridge. Here's a shot of Lisbon, Portugal, which is such a cool place. I've never been there before. If anyone's looking to travel, I know people say like, oh, it'd be nice to travel. It's so expensive. It's not expensive in Portugal. All the food is about like 1/10 of the cost of the US. You get like dollar beers. This is on a hilltop. It's very hilly. It's almost San Francisco-like in how hilly it was. I was surprised. And this is taken with the 90mm on the Hasselblad. So it's 50 megapixels, so it's super detailed. I can probably zoom in. You can see some goodies. Yeah.
So you shot a lot on the Hasselblad this last year, huh?
I did. I would say I mostly shot on the Hasselblad until I left it on a train in Amsterdam. So that really put a dip in my Hasselblad shooting. It decreased approximately to 0. And then I went back to the Sony. And then I got a replacement Hasselblad. And I've been about 50-50 ever since. But now that I have the A7R, I think I might use that 80% of the time.
Now, what is the difference in price, though? What is the difference in price between the Hasselblad and the A7R?
Huge difference. The Hasselblad is about $10,000, and the Sony is about $3,000.
Right.
Yeah. This is Anthony Bourdain, or Tone Boards, as I like to call him. I met him last year in Grand Cayman Island. There's this thing called the Grand Cayman Cookout that anyone can come to. We're going to go back this year, and I'll see him again. We did a fun little sit-down conversation kind of like this. Then afterwards, I asked if it was okay to take the photo, so I put on a 35mm f1.4 Leica on the Sony and got this. Super nice guy, very professional, hyper intelligent. You know, we filmed this show and Gino was down there with me. He was fumbling around with the camera. We missed the whole first 10 minutes. But you should have heard him talking about film and movies and film types and emulsion and cross-processing and all these different film styles. He is a real expert on all this stuff. It's amazing.
Now, how is he getting on after all this Me Too stuff?
I think he's good, actually, because he kind of came out very strong in support of women. And it was actually his girlfriend that, or maybe his current wife, that Harvey Weinstein was all over. So he came out in big defense of her. And also, like, he didn't know, there's this other chef that got in trouble for it too, and he knows it, but he didn't know any of that was going on. So I think he's done really well with the situation. Yeah. This is another very inexpensive place if you're looking to travel and save a bunch of money. This is in Budapest, Hungary, and I had never been to Budapest. Again, extremely cheap food, 10% of the cost of everywhere else. The food is amazing. I didn't see a single policeman the whole time I was there. Just happy people walking around, people sitting in parks drinking wine. There's lakes, pools, rivers, boats, and this is an underground labyrinth of this old Turkish bath. And there are like 9 different natural baths here. It's been here for forever. And this is all tile work. And if you zoom in on the tile work here, which I'll try to do, you see it says 36 Celsius. So like it's been at this temperature for hundreds of years or whatever. And you just get in whichever pool you want to get in. And it's cheap. Like to get in here is like $8 or $9 and you can stay as long as you want.
This is also with the Hasselblad?
That was a Sony.
And what lens?
Let me see. This is a good question.
Looks like a wide angle.
Let me check out the metadata on it. That was a Sony 10 to 18 millimeter lens, shot all the way at 11.
11. See, that's ultra wide.
Yeah, pretty wide. And actually, that lens, it kind of sucks in a way. Now I have a better lens. This 12 to 24, I think, is better. You can see the edges are a little bit barrely. It's a little wonky. But really, I'm not. Yeah, most people, you know, kind of camera nerds will get upset about that. But I generally, when people look at it, they just look at the middle 60, 70% of the photo, and they just kind of ignore the outside. This is in Sintra. It's a really beautiful castle there that I had never been to. I think it's the most beautiful castle in the world. And we got there. You can get there like 2 hours early and pay a little extra money. You can be there alone. Sorry, Thomas, what'd you ask?
It looks a little bit like your house.
I wish. This was a little bit of a blue, boring day, so I added a bunch of texture in the background just to give it a little bit of a classical feeling and, you know, make it just seem kind of otherworldly. And, you know, I think when you take photos of castles or things, you have a little bit of poetic license to have some fun in post.
What did you add those in with? What application?
I used Photoshop. Just brought in 3 or 4 layers and did different kinds of overlay mixes and hard light and masking. This is a shot from this year's Burning Man. This is a really cool tree. Actually, I have 2 cool photos of this tree. I didn't know which one to share, but the other one, it's actually made of like 400,000 LEDs, and it lights up at night, and it's beautiful. This was the Temple Burn night. And I went back to the other side of the tree to kind of get it as a silhouette.
Trey, you heading back to Burning Man this year?
I am. It'll be my 9th time in a row. I excite.
Wow.
Here's one from a few weeks ago when I went to Japan. I had a few extra days to go shoot Mount Fuji. And there's lots of places you can stay around Mount Fuji, and I just kind of picked a random one. And then I like to use Google Maps a lot now. And there's this lake, so I would just kind of like look around Google Maps and drag a little peg man around to see what stuff looked like. And then I found this one place called the Musical Forest, and I thought that sounds super Japanese. I got to go there.
Yeah.
And so I went here, and I was like, oh, is it going to be like a kids thing or something? But no, it was just kind of a cool place with nice views. Again, trying to get a little bit of perspective, put other things in the photo other than just Mount Fuji, which can be nice and simplistic and reductionist on its own, but I kind of like to put things in context of one another.
So how much is this little house on Airbnb?
It's a bargain at twice the price, especially for you, Thomas. Here's a favorite photo that I took. I've showed this to many well-traveled people, and they don't know where it is. I wouldn't have known where it was unless I just gone there, but this is Moscow, which is an incredibly cool city. Cool. I don't know if you've seen Chef's Table, but the new Chef's Table, it's great, isn't it? There's this restaurant there called the White Rabbit, and I took this from that restaurant. I think one thing I like most about it is, well, of course I like the cityscape, that it's unusual, but I like all those little apartment buildings leading up to it, how they're all kind of different colors and they're all in their own little worlds, and it seems like a little, like almost like a backdrop in a Wes Anderson play, school play or something to me.
Almost like a time machine, kind of, you know, the foreground to the background. Is cool.
Yeah. Here's one. Sorry, go ahead, Fred. Say that again. I missed it.
I really want to look in the windows in that last photo.
I bet you do.
We didn't know that about you.
Yeah, you do. Wedding photographer.
Here's a favorite one from this year's Burning Man. I don't set up shots. I don't dress up people in costumes and send them out to do things. I just kind of wait for stuff to happen, and stuff just happens, like this dude with his wings came out to visit his feathered friend. And you can see that same green tree in the background. I did do some Photoshop on this to get rid of stuff. I never add stuff. I like to get rid of stuff because I like, I just like to have some separation, right? So you kind of have this little unit over here that's completely separated with no overlap with this one, and then he's his own unit here, and it gives a nice sense of 3D-ness, I think.
Yeah. Trey, how much time do you say on average would you spend on an individual image in Photoshop and post-processing?
Well, if it's going to be a portfolio piece, I'll spend hours on it. If I think it has that kind of potential, most of them are just trash and not worth any of that time. But some I'll just throw a quick, 5-minute Lightroom filter on, for example, or I'll use Aurora HDR for 10 or 20 minutes on it. I make a lot of images. I probably produce 100 images a week, and I only publish about. So all of them don't have the same amount of battle in them. Yeah. Just some do.
That's cool.
Here's the last one. This is this famous bamboo forest in Kyoto, Japan. And I already had a photo that I really liked of this place, and it was kind of popular or whatever. So I thought, well, what can I do different? I don't want to just go back and repeat the same thing. So I decided to go kind of more portrait orientation. And then I waited for, I would say maybe 1/10 of the women there dress up like traditional Japanese women. And so I just waited for 1 or 2 to come along. And these girls were in the middle of taking selfies of one another. So I took this photo. And I always think, like, it's not that I'm shy. I'm not shy at all. But I don't really like posing people, probably because I don't know how to pose people. Probably like a Jim or a Ron knows how to pose people. I don't really know how to do it. And to me, there's something so unposed and so natural and organic about it. It feels just believable. I'm not sure I could put them in a fake position that looks believable.
Trey, I think you should shoot weddings for a full year and then work on your pose.
So Trey, back to that Moscow picture. What about the picture of Vladimir?
I do have one of Putin. It's not the real Putin though. He looked just like him though, didn't he?
Oh,
come on, it's the real guy. Come on, you can't come up with a better story than that.
No, I think I'll get in trouble if I lie about
The Russians.
Politburo stuff.
I don't know. Trump lied about him. No, I'm kidding. I can't say stuff like that.
There's still time. Oh, Stuart's sharing a photo here.
Yeah,
Tell us about this photo, Stuart.
Well, you made me think because you had that picture of Tawny's dad in with the flowers, and then I thought, like father, like son. This is where this must have come from.
This has just continued to haunt me all year. T-shirts and sweatshirts printed with that on it, and gave it to everyone in the company.
This is a selfie. This is a selfie.
I wish.
No, my friend Renee took that. We were on the way to Monet's house in Giverny, and there's this huge field of like canola flowers or whatever, and so we stopped the bus, and Tane and Renee went off into the flowers to take photos of each other.
Wow. Is there a version without his shirt on?
There is. Here's a close up of it, of that shot. The magic bomb. Look at that. Look at that buttery goodness.
Yeah.
I bought something.
You can't tell the difference when I have a jar there and when I don't. You probably don't see a difference.
I bought a magic jar of stuff just like that to make brownies in Oakland.
Yeah.
It's called a magic bomb.
Shocking.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Thanks for joining me. Do this again sometime. Thanks everyone for watching. You guys have any parting words?
Yeah. Keep your parka on. That's all I can say.
Take that lens cap off.
Good point, Fred. That's a really good point. All right. Well, on behalf of Fred, Jim, Ron, Stu,
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Tane, and the rest of the behind-the-scenes crew, thank you guys for watching. If you want us to do more of these, let us know. Obviously, we just love hanging out, talking about camera stuff, sharing photos, bullshitting, whatever. That's why we're here. Just come watch, enjoy, and I hope it does inspire you to get out and take some photos and do some strange stuff of your own. All right, you guys, I'm going to end the broadcast now. I'll see you next time. Ratcliff out.
See you later.
And stop podcast.
See you, everybody.